my name is Zariah Smith, and today I'm going to be talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. My purpose is to inform people about a current movement that people of color have been enduring for centuries. Black Lives Matter, Hispanic Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, LGBTQ Lives Matter, we all matter. But our brothers and sisters of the black community are dying due to police brutality. A lot of people have been turning a blind eye and not been vocal about this situation as if it's not happening, but it is. This movement was put into action to put an end to police brutality. Also, it allows people of all races and colors to see how unequal people of color are being treated. Being able to establish that African Americans endure unnecessary violence caused by police due to racial motives allows not only people of color but non-people of color to acknowledge the movement and allow for change to be made. First, I will discuss how the movement started. Second, I will discuss the cases that led to the protests and the protest itself. And finally, I will discuss the progress the movement has made and the impact on society. This movement was founded by 3 organizational leaders and civil rights activists, Alicia Garcia, Patricia Colas, and from this movement to now, the Black Lives Matter movement is the largest movement in U.S. history. The Black Lives Matter movement started in response to the 2012 killing of Trayvon Martin. On February 26, 2012, Trayvon Martin was walking home from a convenience store when a man named George Zimmerman, a member of the Community Watch, saw him and reported him to the police for being suspicious. An altercation between the both of them went down, and George fatally shot Trayvon Martin in the chest. George was injured during the altercation, but claimed that he acted in self-defense. Florida's Stand Grand law prohibited officers from arresting George Zimmerman that day, but he was later charged and tried, but the jury released him of all charges. Once this movement started, executions of African Americans continued to go on. In 2014, Michael Brown Jr., an 18-year-old black man, was fatally shot by an officer named Darren Wilson. Wilson initiated the confrontation. He pulled Michael out of the car by the neck through the car window, threatening him and shooting at him. Michael tried to run from the officer, but he was shot in the back. Michael turned around with his hands up and was repeatedly shot in the chest, where he later passed. Officer Darren Wilson was put on trial and he was indicted. This case caused a lot of upset to the black community and was another event that put forth to the Black Lives Matter movement. Police brutality started to become a recurring event, and it started to get filmed on phones and on the internet and noticed. Police brutality continues to happen all over the world, and it is enraging many people of the black community and people that support the movement. People are seeing what is going on footage and being able to understand that the African Americans are not doing anything wrong in the cases. Sandra Bland was a 28-year-old woman who was found hanged in her jail cell. I know that you're thinking, what does that have to do with police brutality? But she was pulled over for a traffic violation, which turned it into an altercation. It turned physical, and the video of the cop detaining her went viral, and people was upset about the case, and the media thoughts on the situation was that she did not hang herself and that the police had something to do with her murder. Those cases are reasons the movement really started, and now that I discuss how the movement started, I will discuss the cases that led to the protest and the protest itself. Although the Black Lives Matter movement has been going on for a while, the past couple of years, and now it has become very known. In May 2020, George Floyd was killed during an arrest for allegedly using a counterfeit bill at the grocery store. A white officer kneeled down on his neck for several minutes while he was handcuffed and was on the floor and was repeatedly saying that he could not breathe. The next day, the videos of the arrest, the detainment, and what was being done to George Floyd surfaced the internet, and all four of the officers that were a part were fired immediately. An officer that kneeled on his neck was charged with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. The three other officers were charged with aiding and abetting to second-degree murder. George Floyd's death triggered the world and started protests against police brutality, racism, and really wanting white officers to be held accountable for their actions towards African American males. Not only has racism and injustice occurred for black men, it has occurred towards black women. Breonna Taylor was a 26-year-old woman, African American, who was fatally shot in March of 2020 in the comfort of her own home. Police entered her home with a no-knock warrant and shot her down for no reason at all. The gunshot occurred between Breonna's boyfriend and the officers, but the officers shot Breonna Taylor 8 times. Her boyfriend shot back at the police in self-defense because he was unaware of who was in his home and what was going on. They are currently and still trying to charge her boyfriend of attempted murder, and the officer that shot Breonna 8 times is not being tried, is not being held accountable for his actions, and that is exactly what the Black Lives Matter movement is trying to do: hold police accountable and press charges. This caused uproar from the public, and it started a global hashtag saying justice for Breonna Taylor, and people really wanted to see justice for this. The protest started when George Floyd was murdered. They began June, July, and they carried through August. 26 million people participated in the protest, making it the largest in United history. Majority of the protests were peaceful, but in many different states they had riots, looting, and a lot of crimes. The protests had a positive effect in such ways as it led to legislative proposals, federal and state proposals, and also trying to stop police misconduct and starting to bring awareness to a situation that has been going on for years. Now that I discussed the protest and the protest itself, I will discuss the progress the movement has made and the impact on society. The Black Lives Matter movement has encouraged many people to not only call for change, but stand with the injustice of African Americans. This movement was put into place many years ago, but has blew up more recently due to police brutality, and especially since more of it has not been caught on film. The movement has everyone talking it, is starting a conversation that should be talked about for a very long time. This movement has helped change in the law system and change people's point of view of racism everywhere. Having changes about the injustice of African Americans cannot change overnight, but we have to start somewhere and bring awareness to this topic. Having conversations about this topic helps it realize that it's real, and it shows that it needs changes. Today I talked about how the movement of Black Lives Matter started. I discussed the cases that led to the protest and the protest itself, and I discussed the progress the movement has made. In conclusion, Black lives are being taken by police brutality for no reason, and it's up to all of us to help change the unfair police tactics being used and the injustice that happens daily. Thank you.